terms of some of the stories that we've covered, for Marketplace Africa, we really try to go beyond what is stereotypical, in terms of a lot of people tend to cover the service sector or the tourism industry in Kenya. When we look at business in Kenya, we've looked at everything from the flower industry. A lot of people might not know that Kenya is the third largest exporters of flowers in the world. We've looked at obviously M-Pesa and what it's doing in terms of mobile money and transfers, and the intersection between technology and financial inclusion I think is fascinating. As a journalist myself, I understand the risks that a lot of reporters across the continent take, especially when it comes to holding power accountable, in terms of censorship, in terms of government officials perhaps offering bribes for reporters to change the stories, or government officials not being willing to do interviews at all. So there are huge hurdles for journalists in Africa when it comes to reporting, and I think it's crucial that we salute them and we pay them homage, because it's not necessarily an industry that is celebrated enough on the continent. The main difference between journalists in the US and African journalists has to be probably what happens behind the scenes. So I reported in Nigeria for the missing girls, and the experience in terms of the challenges and the hurdles of actually putting a story together here is vastly different. Obviously, journalists in Africa are working with fewer resources than typically people at CNN are. As I mentioned, government officials perhaps being unwilling to speak to the media, unwilling to be held accountable. So there are much greater hurdles for journalists in Africa. One thing that I find interesting, though, in terms of how media plays out in Africa, is perhaps the rise of mobile reporting. I think that is fascinating, because in Africa, especially when it comes to technology, you're seeing Africans leapfrog Americans in so many ways when it comes to technology. The rise of mobile reporting, reporting using your phone to gather a story, to take photographs, to do video, is fascinating. And I think that the future of journalism in Africa, as with the rest of the world, must lie in the intersection of technology with reporting. I think if you can stay ahead of the curve when it comes to technology and reporting, you will be at a much greater advantage as a journalist in Africa.